Hi, and welcome back to Bonding with the Book, Chapter Book Edition, the Unicorn Rescue Society. We are now on chapter 16. We are over halfway through this book, but before we get into all the fun, you know how we start every class. Here is today's joke of the day.
What do snowmen like on their cupcakes?
Well, what do they like on their cupcakes?
Frosting.
Frosting. I really don't know why I find these so funny. Frosting, get it? Frost, snow, frosting on a cupcake. It was a little corny, but I still think it was cute. Now it's time for our chapter recap. I think we should call chapter 15. Say what now? Let's break that down. Chapter 15 was strange to me. And that's why I said, say what now? Because there was a whole lot of things being said and a whole lot of faces. So chapter 15, if we're sharing the same text, starts on page 73 and goes to page 79. Now, there were a lot of weird, strange, and crazy things that happened in this chapter. First, Dr. Thomas told us a crazy, crazy, crazy story about how the Jersey Devil came to be. Now, Professor Fauna told us it's not actually a true story, but he didn't say it like that. What happened? Yes, Professor Fauna and Ms. Vole got into a not so nice back and forth teacher conversation. So let's jump into the book and let's look in the book to support that statement. If you turned to page 73, the very beginning of the chapter, Professor Fauna asked Dr. Thomas, would you mind now telling us about the devil? And here comes Ms. Vole on page 74, squealing, what? And then they go back and forth. Professor Fauna says the Jersey Devil, and she goes, oh, but it's just a myth. And then this is when we see Professor Fauna. I always want to call him Dr. Fauna, but that's also because he has a PhD and a PhD. Remember that from earlier. But Professor Fauna, he gets real petty with Ms. Vole. Let's go to the text. On page 74, yes. On page 74, Professor Fauna, if we're going down to the chapter that says the professor fixed. The professor fixed Ms. Vole with a dark stare. Children, your teacher is one of those ignorant people who believe that just because something is a myth, it cannot also be true. I have decided you should not listen to your teacher. What? A teacher just told the kids of another teacher not to listen. Has that ever happened in class? It's never happened in my class. Has it ever happened in your class? I don't know. But I read that and I was like, oh, say what? And then let's see how the children responded. The very next line, the children gasped. I know, as one of the older ladies would say, clutch my pearls. I didn't know that was going to happen and I was not prepared. And then we keep reading and it says, Ms. Vole tried to reply, but her mouth merely moved and no sound came out. Because she was in shock. I was in shock. I don't know about you. Were you in shock? I know, me too. So we hear Professor Fauna say out loud in this room to the whole group of kids, you should not listen to your teacher. And he called her ignorant. Not cool, bro. I'm going to go on the record and say Professor Fauna should not have done that, period. If he had issue with Ms. Vole, he should have took her to the side and said something. Don't embarrass people if you don't have to. It's not cool. But then we continue down. And this is when Dr. Thomas tells us more about her family. She comes from a family of what? You know what you're supposed to do? Look. Yep, you said it in the book. And on page 75, we hear her say in the paragraph that starts, "My family has been full of doctors as long as anyone can remember. And all the doctors were women. Girl power." Yes. But then we hear this story, this crazy story about a lady giving birth to the Jersey Devil and it jumps out the window. That's when I was like, what am I reading? And then you keep going. And then we find out that it was all made up, but it is true. And that she believes that the Jersey Devil should be the mascot for America, not the eagle. And that's where we leave chapter 15. I seriously was like, Ms. Volt, what just happened? But I'm definitely interested to find out what's going to happen in 16. But you know what we must do first? First, we must do our before you read question. Here is today's before you read question. Before we read, it's important that we frame our thinking for the upcoming chapter.
Do you think adults have it all figured out when it comes to kids?
Do you think adults have it all figured out when it comes to kids? I'm going to be honest, as an adult, I don't have anything figured out. I do the best I can. I'm a mom of one little boy, and I find myself stumped all the time. All right, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. Don't tell your mom and dad that I told you the truth. Parents are figuring it out as we go. Teachers are figuring it out as we go. There's certain things we know we need to do. We need to feed you, take care of you, and help you learn. But how we do that, it depends on you. It depends on the kids. Sometimes we have very outspoken, energetic kids, and sometimes you have shy kids. Kids are as different as flowers, and so what works for one doesn't work for the other. It's all trial and error. So be patient with us. I don't think that adults have it all figured out, and I'm sometimes an adult. What do you think?
And now it's time to read. I invite you to cozy up with your book, lend me your ear, as we settle into Chapter 13 of the Unicorn Rescue Society.
Chapter 16. Dr. Thomas stood by the door as the children filed out of the cottage. Most of the kids slid past her as quickly as they could, freaked out by her dark house and the story of the Jersey Devil. But Uchenna stopped right in front of her and stuck out her hand. "It was nice meeting you," she said. Dr. Thomas grinned down at the little girl. "Nice to meet you too, sweetheart." They shook hands. Holding Dr. Thomas's thin hand was like holding a baby bird. Professor Fauna pointed Miss Vole and the class towards the parking lot, and they hurried back to exchange a few hushed words with Giselle Thomas. As they spoke, they glanced towards the children. Elliot felt certain that they were talking about him and Uchenna. Once they were out of sight, Elliot murmured to Uchenna, "I noticed something kind of weird today." "You noticed one weird thing today?" "Well, a couple, but I'm talking about Dr. Thomas's ring. Did you see it?" Uchenna shrugged and shook her head. Elliot leaned closer to Uchenna. "Dr. Thomas was wearing a thick metal ring with a unicorn on it." "So?" "Professor Fauna has the same ring." Uchenna frowned. "Okay, that's a little weird, but it's definitely not the weirdest thing that happened today." "Fair enough. Another weird thing. I also have cousins outside of Philadelphia who are also Jewish." "Maybe you and Dr. Thomas are related," exclaimed Uchenna. Elliot thought about it for a minute. Then he said, "Do you think we should tell someone?" "About you and Dr. Thomas? About you being related to Dr. Thomas?" "No! I thought what we saw, you know. But before Uchenna could answer, they arrived at the sun-drenched parking lot. Miss Vole instructed everyone to sit down on the dusty ground while she went to the bus to get their lunches. You two, she said to Elliot and Uchenna, follow me. She marched them to the big yellow bus parked in the shade, where she began to lecture them. I am shocked you two would be so utterly reckless, especially you, Elliot, on your first day. Elliot wanted to curl up in a ball of shade. I thought of some more things that could have happened to you. What if you had fallen in the swamp, or had been attacked by a swarm of bees, or even one of those, Jersey devils? Elliot and Uchenna both stared up at Miss Vole, unblinking. Their teacher closed her eyes, took a deep breath through her nostrils and out of her mouth. It looked like something she'd learned in yoga or meditation class, or maybe in the Marines. Then she said, you two are going to eat your lunches on the bus. I know it's hot, I know it's uncomfortable, but maybe that'll give you a little taste of how I felt when you two went missing. She collected the other kids' lunches and left. Elliot and Uchenna slouched on the back of the bus. Uchenna smacked each big green seat as she passed it, then collapsed on into the last one. Elliot plopped down beside her. Miss Vole's gonna call our parents. I know it, Elliot mumbled. My dad's gonna kill me. I'm dead, 100%. It's weird how adults always threaten to kill you when you do something dangerous and against the rules, right? Elliot mumbled. They're like, you almost died. Now I'm going to kill you. It doesn't make any sense. Uchenna sighed and gazed out the window. Elliot, she said, sitting up. Look! Elliot leaned over to look at the smudged school bus window. His eyes grew wider and wider. His mouth slowly fell open. Half of a Jersey devil was creeping through the dusty parking lot towards the bus. Yes, half.
Just half of it? What is happening? Oh my gosh, half a Jersey Devil. Did he cut it? I got too much. So before we even get any further, that was a really, really, really interesting at the very end. And you know how we have to end the chapter. Here's our end of the chapter thinking question.
Do you think the punishment Elliot and Uchenna received was fair?
Well, do you think that Elliot and Uchenna's punishment was fair? Do you think that they really should be eating alone on a hot bus? I don't know. I want to know what you think. I mean, I have my own opinions, but I think you all probably have a better insight on this. But boy, oh boy, wasn't that chapter interesting. Now you know what time it is. It is reaction time. I try not to scream into the mic because I know that bothers you all. But, oh my goodness, chapter 16 just ended with only half of a Jersey Devil coming towards them. Where's the other half? Did it split? What kind of voodoo magic is this? This is exciting. So now they're on the school bus and we have half a Jersey Devil. What is going to happen next? I'm so excited to find out. But I'll have to wait till next time, and so will you. I know this is the worst part of it, but it's also the most exciting because it gets me so eager to see you all next time. I am always grateful that you've taken this time to bond over the Unicorn Rescue Society chapter 16 with me, and I'm looking forward to reading chapter 17 with you next time. Bye.